Here's a little demo of an app we're working on. It's maybe not quite ready for a demo, but I thought we'd do a preliminary one anyway. So this is, we're calling it Oscilloscope and Analyzer. Primarily it's an oscilloscope, so I'll show you basic oscilloscope functionality. I'm setting a trigger level, and when the volume of the incoming signal crosses this level, then that will trigger a snapshot. So as I'm talking, you're not seeing anything taken, but you could have it trigger so it takes a snapshot every time you have an attack on a note. You could, if you wanted, set the level down low. This is useful for like if you have a tone. Because then you can kind of see, you can see that quite clearly. You can zoom in on stuff, like if I'm doing this tone. I'll reset the scale back. Right, so you can do that. The next feature I want to show you is continuous mode. So the advantage of this is that you can zoom really far out. You can go out all the way to about 3 seconds of audio. And so now you're seeing like what you would see in a waveform editor type of software, but it's a live real-time view. This has an audio unit version. I'm not going to show that in this video, but it's basically the same like the other, like the thing you're seeing now. You can look at it in stereo, or if your signal is mono, you can sum the left and right channels and look at the average. One of the really cool things that you can do in any of these modes, but especially useful for this mode, is you can see a spectrogram. So that really clearly lets you see what's going on spectrally with your sound. And we spent a lot of time on this spectrogram to get it really nice. We've looked at a lot of other apps that do spectrograms and tried to learn from the ones that do them well. Most of those were on desktop PCs, and then tried to also learn about ones that aren't going well. One of the things that we found was really important is, first of all, the way you're coloring it needs to be able to show a really wide range of volume levels. So you need to be able to clearly and smoothly show things, you know, over like I think this is going over an 80 decibel range, that you can still see something when things are quiet, still see it when they're loud. Another thing that's important is the way the frequencies are scaled. So you need to have some kind of scaling where you give more space to the lower frequencies, because human ears are mostly concerned with what's happening. Like if you think about a guitar fretboard, the fundamental frequency of every note on the guitar is below about 1,100 hertz. So that's where you really want detail. But if you go with a logarithmic scale, so there's two solutions. You go with log scale, and that really focuses on the low end, but it's a little bit too much focused on the low end. Or you can go with linear scale, and that ends up expanding the high end, so that in linear scale, the 1/4 of the sample rate, so I'm running it at 44.1 kilohertz now, 1/4 of the sample rate sits in the middle, so that would put like this 11K frequency right in the middle, and usually we don't need that much detail on the high frequencies. So scaling the frequencies nicely is one thing that we found was important. Another thing that I think is really important is selecting the correct FFT analysis window. If you don't know what that means, it's just if you don't have a long enough window, you won't be able to clearly differentiate all the different frequencies. So it'll look blurry along the vertical axis. But if your window is too long, it blurs things in time, so then things are blurry across this horizontal axis. So a few of the apps that do spectrograms allow you to choose your FFT, and that's important, but what I've always found works a lot better is if it could automatically choose it based on how you're zooming. So you'll notice with this app, if I zoom in really far, FFT size is going to change. Like now it's using a lower, I'm going to pause this. Now it's using a lower size, and the reason it's doing that is because my time scale is so short here. I need to get, I need to get detailed position of events in time, and it's not even really meaningful to talk too much about what frequency things are at when we're looking at such a short time scale, because let's go to combined mode. So we have a few different settings here. Here's where we're seeing the full waveform view and the full spectrum view. Let me do a tone. Right. So with this zoom, I can zoom in on that and see, really see it in detail in the, we call this wave one. That would be the time domain, and then the spectrogram in the background is the frequency domain. So the spectrogram, which is this thing, this is automatically choosing the appropriate FFT setting so that you get a really good compromise of precision in the frequency axis and precision in the time axis according to how you're zooming. So you'll notice as I zoom in, this line gets more focused. Sorry about bumping the camera. So this is the fundamental frequency of the note I was whistling. And as I zoom out, the FFT will get longer, which gives us more precision to clearly identify the frequency. And you can tell it's getting more precise because the line is getting thinner and more focused. But at the same time, we're losing precision in the time axis here. And that's actually fine because I'm zooming out, so I wouldn't be able to see that precision in the time domain anyway. So it's really nice to have a spectrogram that intelligently makes that decision for you. So you just zoom it where you want, and it always gives you basically the best quality you can get in terms of this compromise that spectrograms are forced to make. We've already seen it, but I just wanted to mention, I think the most useful feature for this is going to be just the ability to see this stuff in real time without making a recording and going into a PC. So you could put this on a track in AUM or an audio bus as an audio unit, and you can see it's analyzing my voice in real time. But then if I want to see something in detail, I can hit pause and I can say, let's go back. All right, I want to see what was going on here. Oh, I don't know, not there. Actually, I meant here. So it's this ability to get this kind of information that normally you have to save a file and export it in order to get, but now you can see that stuff happening in real time. Just throw it on a track and you always have that information if you're looking for that. If you're not familiar with the use of a spectrogram, you might be wondering, okay, so what kind of information am I actually getting here? Well, one thing kind of amazing, there are people who can actually look at this spectrogram and read it like they're reading a book and tell what I'm saying. Obviously, this is my voice being played live as I'm doing this video. There are people who can just look at that and say, oh, he said this. Not very many people that can do that, but just to give you an idea that there's that much information about the audio encoded in here. But probably more useful for me personally is that, let me whistle again, watch this. I'm going to pause. So you see here the fundamental frequency came in at about 1.2 kilohertz, just below it, probably about 1.1 kilohertz. And then there's a first harmonic at 2.2 kilohertz, much lighter in volume than the fundamental. And there's a second harmonic here and very faintly a third harmonic here. I'll show in the next video, I hope, when you're running plugins that do saturation or distortion. So those could be guitar amps, compressors, saturators, really a lot of different plugins. Often they create these higher harmonics above the fundamental note. And it's really helpful to have a spectrogram so that you can do, you can check the quality of the plugins that you're buying to see if they're aliasing, which means that they've they've created some unwanted frequencies that analog hardware wouldn't have created, and just to see what kind of distortion is going on in the frequency domain. Another thing that's nice about this is, like, if you're running, I'm going to go over to this waveform view. If you were running a compressor and you wanted to see, like when the kick drum kicks, then what actually is the compressor doing, you can zoom in on that. I'm not running a compressor right now, but you'd be able to see the shape of it, of the attack as it expands up and as the compressor pushes it back down. That might be a good application for this kind of view. I think in the release version we'll allow this to zoom out a little bit more. So like you could, I don't know if my guitar probably isn't loud enough here to make a good impression on this spectrum view, but you could set this trigger level appropriately so that it would take a snapshot every time you attack a new note, and then you know what I'm going to do. I want to get a good snapshot. I'm missing the beginning of the note, and that's because my trigger level is so high. The volume has to get up here before it actually starts taking the snapshot, and that's what this look ahead is for. I can tell it that I want a few milliseconds. Oh, I see what's going on. Okay. I think we got a bug here. Oh, okay. No. Yeah, I think we have a bug there. So we'll get back to testing that. What the look ahead is supposed to do. Let's restart the app and see if it will do it when I restart. Is if it takes some time for the audio to reach up to this threshold level. Yeah. So. It's not instantly going up to this height where it triggered, and so there's this piece back here that I didn't catch, but I can set a couple milliseconds of look ahead, and now it's looking back, so it triggered here, but then it captured a little bit before the trigger event. So that's really nice if if you have something you want to check about the attacks of notes, the way. For example, if you want to see what kind of distortion a limiter is applying, or a compressor, or our own attack smoother or something like that. And the last thing I want to show you is XY mode. Oh, we've got another little bug here. You're getting to see all our bugs today. This doesn't work with the microphone because the iPad is mono input source. But this will work as we call it a vector scope. So you can see stereo imaging, like how wide is your stereo image, but also you can do neat things like you can load, you could play oscilloscope music files where it actually draws shapes on the screen based on the music. We'll probably show you that in our next video. Have we seen this yet? Anyway, it goes 2 channels if you need 2 channels, and I'm going to talk about this next time because I think our video is long enough already. So we'll see you in the next video, and with another update on this app coming soon.